Welcome back to Spirit Spells and Magic.
With the weather being so gloomy lately, in the middle of winter, we need to think of things that are going to be positive in our lives. Something to bring in warmth and sunlight, even if we don't have access to the sun itself. My daughter and I decided that we were going to start our morning with pancakes. I got her to mix in the ingredients, just with a cheap bag of pancake mix. We put in milk and egg and started getting the pan ready. I like to get her to get hands-on in the kitchen so as that she gets these skills for later on. I mean, pancakes aren't really a staple in the kitchen, but it's something basic as she's only young, and it'll get her thinking about ingredients and measurements and how things kind of cook. But it was fun for both of us. As she is young, I do need to make sure she's supervised and handle the oven, but she watches, so she knows what temperature and such to put things on. But overall, most of it was completed by my daughter, and it gave her the confidence so that when she's older, she knows her way around a kitchen, even if it's just making pancakes. We had a lot of fun and the pancakes came out quite nice. A couple of hiccups along the way. But it was an activity that we could spend and put intention of warmth and heat and love and warm ourselves up at this cold time, both inside and out. The pancake with the loving intention and the warmth going into your body makes us feel warm again and looking forward to what's coming. And the heat of the oven and pans in the kitchen always seems to warm up the house too, because there's not much to do outside, unfortunately, when the weather's like this. And we often have to find ways of doing things indoors. Back in the old days, if it snowed outside, they may have been stuck inside for quite some time, and they would have had to have done things inside for the majority of the time. So it's good to be able to not only have a bit of fun, but also think of how things would have been done in the old days. They may not have had pancake mix, but they definitely would have been sharing moments together in the kitchen as a family. Another thing we decided to do in the kitchen was to make some cookies. These ones are going to be gingerbread, and we're going to make them in the shape of stars. Stars to represent winter time. Winter time is usually the best time to look up at the stars at night because they're most clearest. And stars also represent protection. When we look at the pentagram, a pentagram with its 5 points represents the elements and is a good protector as well. We've decided to ice them in white to also represent winter as well. We did want to do suns. We did want to make some suns, but we couldn't find a cookie cutter in time for it, so we went with stars. But once again, my daughter popped the ingredients in. Now, for gingerbreads, it's usually ground ginger, cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, cloves, a lot of different powders go in with the flour, as well as brown sugar and 100 grams of butter, and you can choose golden syrup or molasses, you can choose maple syrup, and we went with maple syrup on this occasion. But basically what we did was she poured in all the wet ingredients or the sugar ingredients, and I had them on the stove warming, while she went ahead and made the dry ingredients, put those together, and then we mixed them both together to form our dough. Once again, building skills in the kitchen is a good thing for kids, so as that later on they have a good idea of what to do. The fun part of this exercise was obviously cutting the cookies out. She rolled the dough, pressed it down. We don't actually have a rolling pin, so we're going to have to invest in one of those if we're going to be doing all these little crafty cookie things. And she flattened them out, cut the cookies out, and placed them onto parchment paper or baking paper onto one of our trays. Now the dough can be a little bit sticky, and what we found that sometimes it sticks to the breadboard, so we've got to get a bit more flour. And these are good things for kids to learn about wet and dry ingredients and balancing it out. If one's a bit too dry, add a bit of wet. If something's a bit wet, add a bit of dry. It's all the learning experience, and it's good to let them see the mistakes and little fails for themselves. That way they learn also how to fix things. If it was perfect all the time and we didn't make mistakes in front of the kids, they'd never know when they made them how to correct them. So it's always good to let them see a little bit and know how to handle the situations when they arise. But it's a great activity for kids, making cookies. I remember making gingerbread men myself when I was a kid. It's a great experience, and obviously eating them at the end is always quite exciting. But so we were making these gingerbreads also to add some ingredient and intention for protection and health. And also they're the ingredients for Yule time, or used in Christmas cooking and things like that, like allspice and cinnamon, clove, ground clove, those kind of ingredients that smell like Christmas and taste like Christmas, or Yule we should say, because we're in July. But it was a great experience, and it's teaching my daughter as well different ingredients and what they're used for and how they taste. And we made some icing to go over them. It was just white icing to represent winter, even though it doesn't snow here. But we just kind of drizzled them over. We tried to use a piping bag at first with a plastic little freezer bag, which didn't work too badly, but it kind of went harder. The icing went hard a bit too quick for us to smooth them over. But look, at the end of the day, they all go down the same way. But she had a lot of fun making them, and the household had a lot of fun eating them. I think even the dog managed to get a little corner of one of those stars, so everyone was happy in the end. But these are just some little crafts that you can do, and remember to use your intention, what you want to come into your life. The stars for protection, and reminding us in the not too distant future, spring will be upon us. And we've got to remember as well, the stars are out there. We don't see them often, but they are there, and they're like little ancestors watching us. But definitely intention for love and happiness in the home is definitely what we want. Now, winter foraging. Another thing that we like to do is get out in nature when it's not so gloomy, rainy or cold. But when we get outside, we try and take a moment to look at nature and see what little things are growing, what's sprouting up at different times of the year. We've got not many flowers about. It's not really a time for flowers, but there are other things to discover. Little snail shells and mushrooms. We've just got to go outside whenever we can and have a little walk through nature. Wherever there's water, a lake or a river or a creek, have a little look. Water always makes us feel better. Going near the water and experiencing time near the water, whether it's a beach or a dam, but just being one with nature. And also foraging. When you need little items for crafty things at home, or just doing a little bit of witchy practice around the home, little sticks and things are handy to come by. And often at this time of year, the trees are giving us those items and they're falling to the ground. Some of those items that we foraged were some sticks, and we decided we would make a pentagram, which is basically a 5-pointed star. Now, I got my daughter to break down the sticks of even length. We got 5 of them together, and she cut 5 lengths of string around the size of those sticks. Now what we were going to do was put the closest in length sticks together and tie 3 knots in the end of one. A knot at the top, underneath, and back to the top again. And we do that with the other 2 that we've got, and then you'll have 1 stick aside. Once you've tied a knot in the 2 pairs, and once you open them kind of like a triangle and pass them across each other, you will see a star start to form. And then you just tie off the triangle and put another stick across and tie off those ends as well. And before you know it, you've got yourself a pentagram, a 5-pointed star, which represents the 5 elements: air, water, fire, earth, and spirit. It looks great up on the altar. I really hope you enjoyed this quick little episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and click on the notification bell so you're aware when I'm putting up new videos. We're still in winter, and we're going to put up a couple more videos before Imolk comes along, and then we'll start to think about spring. Have a lovely day. Namaste.